Let's start with a James Baldwin quote on what would have been his 100th birthday. History is not the past. It is the present. We carry our history with us. We are our history. If we pretend otherwise, we are literally criminals. This weekend at John Brown's farm in Lake Placid, history is very much the present. A descendant of one of John Brown's raiders on Harper's Ferry, a guy whose ancestor is buried at the farm in Lake Placid. He's coming to the farm for a special event. He's a chef, and he's serving a feast. Lewis Sheridan Hughes' reflections on history and the present on today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Clarkson University, offering over 95 programs of study with campuses in the Hudson Valley, Central, and Northern New York. More at clarkson.edu.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Friday, August 2nd. First up, a mental health hotline for first responders is one of several proposals in a new bill from U.S. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. WSHU's Desiree Diorio reports.
The bill would invest $175 million toward mental health services for police, firefighters, EMTs, and other first responders and their families. Gillibrand says first responders face higher rates of depression, substance use, and post-traumatic stress due to the daily challenges of their jobs.
Civilian mental health providers don't always have the understanding or cultural competence to give them the care they need. This funding and hotline will be instrumental in expanding the mental health resources available to our first responders.
Gillibrand says the hotline would offer peer-to-peer support and connect callers to specialized mental health professionals. A 2018 study found police and firefighters are more likely to die by suicide than in the line of duty. For the New York Public News Network, I'm Desiree Diorio.
North Country Community College is seeking to make its prison education program permanent. NCCC's program currently serves 4 correctional facilities, offering college courses to around 120 inmates. The degree programs are intended to set inmates up with college credits or to set them up for employment after release. The program is part of a larger federal program started by former President Barack Obama in 2015. It was expanded last summer and provides funding for incarcerated people to access higher education. To continue operating, NCCC's program must be reclassified as permanent instead of experimental. College officials say they'll submit a formal request soon. John Brown's farm in Lake Placid is hosting events this weekend to honor Black culture and civil rights. One of the events is the second annual Long Table, which organizers describe as a, quote, spirited, open-ended, history-informed exchange of views. The food for the evening is being prepared by Chef Lewis Sheridan Hughes. He's a descendant of Lewis Sheridan Leary, a Black man who fought alongside John Brown at Harper's Ferry and was killed during the raid. Emily Russell sat down with Chef Hughes at the farm yesterday to talk about Hughes' relationship to the place and how he became a culinary activist.
I was in culinary school and I had an epiphany where I'm learning to make excellent food and I'm learning how to utilize all of these ingredients in multiple ways and to minimize waste. And I didn't want to get out and succeed on the backs or from the support of people who were wealthy, who already grew up with these experiences and these opportunities. And so that was the beginning of my shift to start to be more of a food activist as opposed to a chef for profit. But it took me a couple of years before I still realized myself.
Yeah. How did that experience influence the food you make and like the culinary experience you try to create for people?
Oh, very much so. I try to cook very simply. I don't want to change ingredients too much because of the people that I want to notice. I want lower income, middle income individuals. Race doesn't matter. It's really just an economic thing. And the further you are away from those experiences, the more intimidating they are and the more foreign they are.
I wonder if you could talk more about your personal experience as a chef, as a Black man in the culinary world. What has that been like for you?
It's been interesting. I don't want to say specific situations, but there have been several situations where, like, that was one of my motivating factors of why I went to culinary school. I had been cooking for about 10 years. I had achieved the position of chef without going to culinary school, but I was capped out on how much I was being paid. I would often actually, because my name Lewis Sheridan, Hughes, you don't assume a black guy, so I would actually always get up to the interview, and then very often, especially in five-star restaurants, more often, I have to say like 95% of the 5-star restaurants that I applied to, as soon as they saw me, they just kind of switched. And that's what then changed my mind and made me decide to go to culinary school, because I felt maybe if I had this degree behind me, as well as my name and this resume, that, you know, it would, when they did see me, they would like, okay, well, he has the experience and he does have the degree. And maybe it would give me some skills that I was missing.
Can you talk about the food that you're going to be making and serving on Saturday here for the Long Table event?
Yeah, I just try to utilize the ingredients that are indigenous to an area, because they're going to taste the best, they're going to be the cheapest, and it also, the people that are in that area enjoying it are like, holy moly, I've seen this thing, and it's just food recognition. It's just to give new idea and inspiring ideas to other people. And then I try to highlight, not really myself, but as much as I can, I try to bring in other purveyors and other food makers. So with this charcuterie board, I try my best to find cured meat around here, but there aren't very many chefs that do cured meat. They do a lot of jerkies and things like that. But I was looking for something a little more refined. So a lot of the jams and jellies and pickled vegetables and all of the produce is going to be sourced from here. So I haven't even gotten that yet. I've just gotten my charcuterie meat, and I'm actually going to spend the rest of the day today and tomorrow going from farm to farm, going to Lake Placid, checking out the marts.
So we're sitting here at John Brown Farm, and you have one relative who's buried here alongside John Brown and his family. I wonder what you feel when you're here at this site.
I hope that what I feel every person of color feels, or every marginalized individual at any point feels. I feel freedom. I feel like I belong here. There aren't many open spaces, and there aren't many spaces where you feel like you belong. New York State has offered me that, especially growing up in D.C., growing up close to Virginia. I won't go into the bad experiences I've had, but I've had quite a few growing up in that area. So up here, it's a lot more freeing. I feel more able to be myself in New York State, but especially here on this farm. I could feel it driving in on the road. I don't even know the name of this road, but like 10 miles away, I can start to feel the energy from this place, and really just the acceptedness. So it's not just this place, but it's the people that come here. It's the people that live in this area. All of that energy is palpable to me.
I wonder how you think about history and the way it's been shaped over centuries, you know, largely focused on the white experience and less so on the role of black people. You know, obviously we're sitting at this historic site, which is named after John Brown, who played a major role in the abolitionist movement. He was a white man. You have a relative, a black man, who's buried here. So I wonder, like, how you hope people experience historical sites like this one and think about all the people that have played key roles throughout our history.
Wow, that's a good one. Well, it was John Brown, learning about him, and then having a friend of my own, having a John Brown of my own. It's a friend of mine back in Beacon, who is very much like my ally. So I know, first off, that black individuals can't change this situation for ourselves. We can't do it without allyship. So for people of color, when you come here, I want you to look at the white person next to you, and know that they are here with purpose. They made a choice to come here. Whether they know what is here or whether they are coming here to learn, they have made that choice to come. And so when you look to your left or right and see an ally, I guess, and to the white person that's here, thank you. Thank you for coming. You do have a responsibility because your voice matters and your voice carries.
That was Chef Lewis Sheridan Hughes speaking with Emily Russell at the John Brown Farm in Lake Placid. Hughes is serving food at tomorrow's Long Table event at the farm. There are additional events there on Saturday, including an exhibit tour at 3 o'clock and an artist talk at 3:45, co-hosted by Tiffany Ray Fisher, who's executive director of the Adirondack Diversity Initiative. We have more news all the time and through the weekend on our website, ncpr.org. Music today by Eddie Lawrence of Moira and Mark Corey of Watertown. Have a great weekend. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.